Pipe Network presents.
On this episode of Season 4, Let's Talk.
Yeah, this one is an attire from the Gadang tribe of Paracelis. So this is one of the most intricate set of attire that you will be able to see in the Cordilleran region, because the Gadang of Paracelis, they have a whole history of weaving and weaving beads, putting beads into the ends of their attire and their headdresses. So it's very, very intricate, and it's just so beautiful. And because my grandmother is from Paracelis, from the Gadang tribe of Paracelis.
Hey folks, welcome back to the Rajiv show, and what a surprise I have. My guest for this week is it's going to blow your mind, because during January of 2021, I participated in one of these big movies. It felt like a big movie for me. I had a 5-minute segment, but it took me 1 hour to get me makeup and all that stuff. And we're going to talk about that with my guest. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce Giul and Handiong. Ladies and gentlemen, how are you guys?
We're good. We're all good. We're hanging on. How about you?
Yeah, I'm doing good too. I'm
How's
good.
it going?
It's been mentally crazy. I've got lots of stories to tell you guys. But before we get into the meat and bones, of course, I want to let my listeners give a little back. Could you give my listeners a little bit of background about who you guys are?
Who are we? I don't even know who I
Who am
am.
I? Who am I?
So my name is Giul Sanchez. I am an emerging filmmaker from the Cordilleras. I'm very into advocating for the culture and the heritage and film and arts and astrology recently and all that jazz. So Handiong, tell us about yourself.
I'm Handiong Kapuno. I'm the alalay of Giul. No, I'm also a cultural advocate. I go for indigenous awareness, indigenous community. I am for the community Cordilleras. Yeah, that's me.
Awesome.
What else?
Awesome.
Yeah, I play indigenous instruments, something like that.
Yeah.
What else? And I'm also an aspiring filmmaker like Giul. Yeah.
Filmmaker, indigenous culture. Oh man, we got a lot of stuff to unbox in this conversation. This is gonna be interesting. But before we unbox all those Pandora's box, I gotta ask: if both of you guys were high school classmates, and if we were all high school classmates, who were you guys in high school? In high school, if you guys were classmates with me, let's start with the ladies first.
Ladies first.
If I were in high school with you and Hanjong,
Yeah.
I would still be the class clown. I'm always the class clown.
Kulit.
I'm makulit
Kuwela.
daw. Kuwela. Palatawa.
Interesting.
How about you, Hanjong?
Ako, I would be the mysterious guy, like Rukawa. You know Rukawa in Slam Dunk, something like that.
Interesting. It was funny taking my first impressions of you guys. I hope you don't mind if I share my first impressions of you guys.
Sure.
Let's take it back to the story. Guys, we got a new interesting story that I haven't shared with you. I think it was 2020 when I first met these two legends, and then from then on out, the communication never stopped. The emails and the back and forths and the stuff. So the story was, there was this event called, if I'm aware of it, it was called Ibagtit. and we were hanging up artworks. I remember this was in Luisa's, if I'm correct,
Yeah.
Luisa's. So the first impression that I had was when we were setting up the stuff. Hanjong approached me. At that time, we didn't know each other, and then he was
Yeah.
surprised that I spoke Ilocano, and oh, that was interesting. And then after they had a performance after the entire setup, I went and I approached them, and that's when our conversation started. And from then on out, it was like a love love team. It's like three of us love team. Every time I connect with them, it's always an interesting conversation, to the point that I worked with them professionally in this movie that they call it the 10,000 errors. And hopefully we're gonna get a movie premiere or something online. Let's see how we're gonna see that happen or something like that. But I'm honored to be a part of that. I want to keep talking about that because there's so many things. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so
Mm.
much for being a part of that film. It wouldn't be what it is without you. I mean, you really looked the part and played the part pretty well. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember, I think when I was watching the awards, oh yeah, I don't think I remember sharing this with you guys. When I was watching the awards, I was actually in the middle of a workout session, and then when I heard that the movie got awarded world building or something, I said, "Whoa,
Yeah.
that's my girl!" And then she, "Whoa, oh my god!" I thought she was gonna use her signature "Inyangay padle" kind of thing, and then she just said, "Oh my god, oh my god," you know. But yeah,
I wanted to sound cool, but then I still sounded like a little girl because I was
yeah,
panicking and I had anxiety when I was on
Mm.
stage. I don't even remember what I said. I just thanked people and I don't know. I don't remember anything. I blacked out.
Yeah, she even mentioned the demons.
Yeah.
Yeah, she had a special mention with the, no, the
Did,
demons.
did I say thank you, Satan, or
Oh yeah, thank
yeah,
you, Satan. Sabi niya.
and the
to
demon,
Satan to the
yeah. And the
devils?
middle of pull-ups, I went down and I said, "Uy, that's
People were
my
wondering,
girl." Woo!
who's Satan?
Yeah.
Congratulations to us.
To
Yeah,
us, yes, to us, to
it's
us.
quite an achievement.
Interesting. Interesting. First of all, I wanna take the second half of our conversation into filmmaking. But before we get into the filmmaking stuff, I wanna open this Pandora's box about culture, because I think I had a recent conversation with a friend of mine who is also Igorot, and shared his
Mhm.
thoughts about Igorot culture, and saying, and I want to hear your thoughts on Igorot culture, and then I will give my take on this as well. Like I said, ladies first.
All right.
For me, it's been it's been a pretty awesome journey for me to be able to relearn my own culture, to fall in love with it. Cause I grew up kind of looking at the Western stuff and like seeing that each and every day and all the mainstream stuff. So now that I'm getting old, um I'm starting to become wiser. Wiser. I'm starting to become wiser. So I'm looking at this as something that I want to do for the rest of my life. I mean, advocating for culture and heritage is something that I really want to pour my time, my effort into, because it's very important for us to decolonize. That's one of the things that I am advocating for now. Like, it's very, very important for us to understand where we come from in order for us to get to where we want to go. If we don't really know who we really are as human beings, it's gonna be pretty hard for us to find our soul's purpose and
Mm-mm.
our destination in life. So yeah, so it's very important for me. So I've become quite sensitive about cultural appropriation and all those things. Dati not so much naman, pero recently, now that I am focusing on decolonizing and really looking at it like we're learning from one another, and the learning process is perpetual.
Yeah.
So it's always learning, and learning from the mistakes, correcting the mistakes, so that all of our culture and all of our heritage or traditions gets passed on to the next generation, na pure siya, hindi siya yung edited, or what do you call this? Binaboy. Hindi binaboy. Ang pangit ng term ko. Like, I want it to be as pure as possible when it gets passed on to the next generation. Because I am getting old. Anyway, yun lang. Ang dami ko sinabi. Handiong.
Interesting.
What do you
For me
think?
naman,
Uh, I wanna
Yeah.
cut that
Go on.
that portion first. I wanna follow up a question for Jill, so that, and then I'll ask Hanjong and then question. I hope you guys don't mind with the setup.
Sure.
So
It's all good.
the way I hear it, it's very interesting. Is a very interesting question, and I got a follow up question with regards to motivation, because my show, the Rajiv Show, is a motivational show, and I want to ask you, what is your motivational reason for you when you get up, and when you mention cultural decolonization, and you want to empower the strength? What is your philosophy, or your motivation that reminds you, okay, on a gloomy day, on a regular gloomy day, or a sudden gloomy day, what is that motivation that says, hey, this is me, this is what I need to do? Or do you have that kind of motivation quote that brings you to to elevate yourself towards that gloomy day?
The truth is, like, of course it's really hard, especially now that you feel like you're locked in, my lockdown, and you feel trapped and all of those things. So one thing that I keep telling myself, I have an internal dialogue with myself each and every day, that in everything I do, I always think of it like, every action I do will help make the world a better place. It's kind of, it's a malawak. What's that in English? It's
So wider.
it's a spectrum, to make the world a better place. But I make it a point that, to make the world in order to make the world a better place, you must go back to your roots, because when you go back to your roots, you get connected to the earth. And when you're connected to the earth, that's when you make the world a better place. If you're disconnected to the earth, and
Wow.
you don't know how to take care of all, and you don't know how to be compassionate to other people, because you're disconnected to the earth, you cannot make the world a better place. So it's very important for me to remember that the word earth, to be connected to the earth in order to make the world a better place. So when I'm sad, like, hey girl, what you doing? You have to do. I mean, that's just me being hard on myself and telling myself every day na, when you wake up today, you have to make something, whether it be big or small, to make the world a better place, and make sure that whatever you do, you are connected to the earth. That's
Wow.
all.
That's very powerful. I mean, that got me tear-eyed. Got me really in a
Aw.
trance. Got me in a trance. Hanjong, the question that I want to ask, so what is, like I said at the beginning, what is your take on Igorot culture, and the same question that I asked Jill?
Well, first of all, I would like to thank you, Rajiv, because even though I'm not really good in speaking, you still invited me to your show. Thank you very much, brother.
Yeah, I'd love to have
For
you.
me, yeah. Culture is very important for me, because since I was a child, it is already the core of my values, my wisdom. I imagine if I don't have I don't have my uncles and my mother who raised me with those values, I might be
Yeah.
a bad person now. That's what I'm saying. And yeah, it's very important for me. Culture is very important in all aspect of life. Music, uh, lifestyle, lahat yan. And I think it's just simple. All the answer is from our inner roots, from our roots. Parang lahat ng kasagutan ay kung saan ka nanggaling. Ano ba yun? Lahat ng kasagutan ay nasa sa iyong pinanggalingan. Something like that.
Interesting,
That's
interesting,
what I believe. And
interesting.
yeah, today kasi we are people now like my age. So there's a lot who really doesn't care about our culture.
I do
They
agree.
care
Yeah,
more about they care more about other people, the Western side, the I mean, it's not bad to be inspired with other cultures, but what I'm saying is that it is also important to know where you came from
Yeah.
in order for you to, you know, para so that you can also be proud. You can also say to yourself that, hey, we have the same culture. This is also our culture. You can ipagmayabang ba? You can
you can
you
show it off.
can show it to the world. Like, this is how rich our culture ganon. So
Interesting,
culture is very very important dahil yun talaga yung pinanggagalingan ng ating values, ang mga wisdom.
interesting.
Yeah.
I was about to ask you the philosophy about your motivation and your philosophy, but you kind of summarized it. Culture is very the words that you
Mm.
said is very powerful. I was about to ask you a follow up question, the same question that I asked Jill earlier, but then you already connected it somehow. You're very genius, very very genius and very advanced thinking. I didn't expect that.
Thanks,
Wow,
man.
you're
Thank
such a
you.
genius.
Wow, genius first time. Hindi naman, ano lang. It's what I believe. Like, culture is really talaga right in my core.
Yeah,
Ito talaga yung sinasabi ng damdamin. So it's really that important for me.
yeah. Interesting. For those who don't know, by the way, for all our listeners who don't know, I'm sure all everybody knows. Everybody who listens to my podcast know that I am half Igorot and I'm also half Indian. So I share two bloodlines, and I also have a blog which talks about what inspired me. And I'm sure I sent this to Jill, and I sent this to a couple of friends and family members,
Mm.
Yeah.
and it was a powerful take, and I just wanted to talk about my insights to how I look at Ibaloy culture here, especially from where I stay. The age of it is dying, and sadly it's a fact. From where, and I'm sure my guests, they also agree with me. With the dying age, we
Yeah.
need to somehow maintain some sort of balance to it, because it's okay to go towards the future, but it is pointless to go to the future without knowing, like what Jill mentioned, knowing where your root is and how grounded you are to the ground that you came from, because
Yeah.
that is one thing that is something that is lacking thereof in this generation. It's all about new technology, new cell phone, new this, but nobody knows how hard it was to create the thing, especially in birth. And this is gonna get a little bit philosophical. I hope you guys don't mind. This is gonna I'm gonna pour my heart out to these guys, but because because I remember having a conversation with Jill and Hanjong about um, the stars and stuff like that. No offense. I don't understand the thing, hence I don't question it. But for me personally, I question a lot of things, and that's how I see and perceive education, rather than in society nowadays where everybody's got an answer, And I don't know if you guys agree
Mm.
with me. When you go to school,
Yeah.
immediately you ask a question, they have an answer, and then once you cut deep into that, even if the teacher doesn't know how to answer it, the question becomes unknown, to the point that you have to find it, you have to do the research, and you have to do, especially in cultural heritage, you're digging into an onion. It's like you're cutting into a layer, and you think that you're already near the core of the onion. You're still far off. You just merely scratch the
Yeah.
surface. And I think we need
Yeah,
to
Exactly.
you're right.
we need to learn how to cut it more deeper and deeper until, of course, the onion, we get to the layer of the onion. And this is really an interesting philosophical take on culture that I've never expected. This is why I love impromptu conversations. And
Yeah.
I think, for those who are tuning in, I think there is, probably, most probably, the profile pictures of my guests. They have this uniform, our Igorot uniform, or our clothes, and I'm sure they're gonna portray that in the pub mats. I'm sure you guys are gonna be educated about that. Jill, could you educate a little bit more about what you were wearing during that photo op with the hat and the cultural hat and the cultural dress?
Which one was that? Is that the blue one or the black and white one? I
The
forgot what I sent.
the one that is the one that I see in your profile now, in
Oh.
here in Zoom.
Yeah, this one is an attire from the Gadang tribe of Paracelis. So this is one of the most intricate set of attire that you will be able to see in the Cordilleran region, because the Gadang of Paracelis, they have a whole history of weaving and weaving beads, putting beads into the ends of their attire and their headdresses. So it's very, very intricate, and it's just so beautiful. And because my grandmother is from Paracelis, from the Gadang tribe of Paracelis, I really want to show people that, hey, maybe you haven't seen this before, because when they say Cordillera, maybe what they see is
The
those
red,
that are
the
displayed
red
in
and black.
stores here in Baguio. So
True.
you don't really get to see these things that are outside of
Yeah.
Baguio or Benguet. So this is from Mountain Province, and this is what it looks like. It's so intricate. Don't you know that, like, we have something like this, of this level of intricacy, of
Yeah.
detailed work. So I wear it quite proudly on Zoom, especially when I have international meetings with people. They're actually very curious because they haven't seen this before.
Yeah.
The thing that they see are those of the Benguet attire,
Yeah.
because that's what is produced more in the world, I think, for
Yeah.
people. So for us to be able to showcase this kind of thing, like also the attire, which I also wear in important events,
Mm.
occasions, so they get to see that Apayao also has this beautiful blue attire with also beadwork, and with the bandana, with the with the cloth that is wrapped around the head, and the pom-poms that are hanging. So these are uncommon attire that you will see in the Cordillera. So it's very important for me as a cultural advocate to show people that this exists, and we want to show the youth that it's cool to wear these attire. And because some people think that it's not, like, I mean, when I get to talk to people, they don't even bother to know where they come from, or even bother to understand where their roots. They don't even bother to understand that, because for them it doesn't really matter where you come from. It's
Mm.
where you're going, and it's what you do with your career. But I think people need to understand, especially the youth of today, that you know everything is interconnected. So if you don't really again and again, I'm gonna say it again, if you don't know where you come from, you're not gonna get to where you're going. Rizal also said that ang hindi marunong lumingon sa pinanggalingan na hindi makakarating sa paroroonan. And I believe in that firmly. In all indigenous cultures in the world, those who have made it, I mean, those people who have become truly successful in the soul level, have
Yeah.
connected to where they come from.
Mm.
they've
Interesting.
connected to where they truly come from. So
Powerful.
that's very important, I think, for everyone.
Powerful. And I assume Hanjong also has a photo shoot like this, but his is much more different. I think I saw that.
That's
I saw that somewhere on
that's
Facebook if memory serves.
Kalinga. Yeah.
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 I was wearing a Kalinga attire because my mom is from Kalinga. So yeah, I'm really proud that uh I'm
And
I'm
Ikalinga.
Ikalinga.
Interesting. Interesting. I
Yeah.
One thing I found interesting in the earlier conversation as I was talking to you guys, I noticed that there was something that caught my ear in this conversation. This is rare that I usually I'm very distinctive without writing notes this time. I practice not writing notes while having conversations because sometimes my attention, I have ADHD. So I've noticed in the earlier conversation when Jill was trying to explain, I found it interesting how westernized she is and how she can adapt to the westernized ability, and how she
Mm.
uses the ability of being westernized. And then once we transitioned to Hanjong, it was more like Hanjong was already rooted. So it was like there were two different pieces of the pod, if you know what I mean. And somehow this
Yeah.
conversation is working because we have two opposite viewpoints. One that is from and one that is going. So it's a really interesting
Yeah.
Mm.
dynamic here, and I love it. I love this conversation, and
Oo nga,
if
no.
yeah. And for those who are tuning in, by the way, I hope if Venazir hits this point of our conversation, we want to shout out to Venazir because um, I
Hi.
Ayun,
I well, we recall, or I recall that there were some few paintings of Jill. Mostly it was Jill and Hanjong in most of the murals that have been established in places in Baguio. For those who are in Baguio, shout out to you guys as well. And it's it's uh, it's been interesting. All three of us should get into a podcast, or four of us should get into a podcast and start talking about
Yeah.
stuff.
oo nga,
it's
next
go-
time.
it's gonna be an interesting thing, and I love it. I love it. Um, I want to get into filmmaking, but before, folks, I want to talk about filmmaking. And you mentioned music. I want to open that Pandora's box as well. Hanjong mentioned music. Before
Yeah.
we talk about that, folks, we're gonna have a short break, and we'll be right back after these few short messages.
I like to have a good time when I listen to my horror podcast.
Her left arm
Oh,
was
that's
chopped
so.
off.
Oh my god,
Caused
really?
a panic all over the
Prolonged
country.
their deaths for like months and
The
months.
frightening, alarming, real-life tales show is my horror podcast.
My horror podcast.
That's
Give
it?
pause it.
This,
'cause-
this is your scary part?
Be scared and laugh hard with the frightening, alarming, real-life tales show every Friday on all major podcasting platforms. Don't say I didn't warn you.
Hey, folks, welcome back to the Rajiv Show. And what an incredible first half. We dabbled into the philosophy of understanding our roots as a culture. And of course, we're talking about Igorot culture in this conversation. We have three perspectives. If you haven't heard the first part, it was interesting. We have Jill and we have Hanjong, my guest, my lovely, lovely guest. And on this half, we're going to talk about music and, of course, filmmaking. So now let's get into the music side. Again, ladies first. What got you into music? Because I know you have an amazing pair of lungs, and you know how to belt and you know how to sing. And I've seen those photos where you were. And don't mean to stalk you, but I mean to stalk you. But I've seen those photos where you were featured in ABS-CBN and all that stuff, and I'm proud of you for that. So when did the influence of music start with Jill?
How it started was because my dad is actually a musician. He is
Hmm.
a folk singer. So he's this party animal type of musician. How do I
Interesting.
explain? But I was a daddy's girl. I was such a daddy's girl, and I would sing with my dad, and he would always be invited to parties where he would have to perform. So I was performing since I was 3 years old. They would let
Wow.
me sing randomly. They would just call me to sing, and then, hey, you sing a Japanese song or you sing a
Wow.
Spanish song or whatever. But I've forgotten everything. but but yeah, he would make me sing, and so this is why I'm also like used to I'm used to being on stage. I'm used to performing, talking, being an attention. You can't say bad words pala here, no. But yeah, so I got used to being a performer. So it's very much my dad. It's my dad who introduced me to music, showed me all different kinds of all the genres that are there in the world, and all of the stories behind these artists. You know, there's chismis pa behind, like, behind the Beatles and Elvis Presley and all that. He would tell me everything. So it's very westernized actually, because he's a Canadian citizen, my dad. So he's very focused on that side of things. So my mom naman would of course listen to OPM, Joey Ayala, Asin, and Apo Hiking Society and all that stuff as I was growing up, because my dad was in Canada when I was growing up. So it's a balance between Filipino and, you know, Western references in terms of music. Yun. So recently I just got to see like the importance of like indigenous music and how beautiful it sounds when it's incorporated into, like, when pop crosses with indigenous music, like Joy Ayala did to the song Luksong Tinik. It's so beautiful. It's like EDM and indigenous music combined. So I'm just really into all genres because of my dad. And,
Wow.
kumbaga, I've seen many different both ends of that spectrum, but I'm not really. I wish I learned to play instruments well, cause yun yung pinagsisisihan ko. I wish I continued playing the guitar. I wish I did, but now I'm just a singer. I'm just a singer. I'm
Well,
just a vocalist. So I
you-
leave it to
yeah.
Hanjong to play the
Exactly.
instrument.
I was
Yeah.
about to say that. Well, you already have a guitarist, so there's no issue there. And
Yeah.
with Hanjong, with regards to music, I presume, because for those who have seen me and who have seen the photo of Hanjong, probably in the pub mats, we both look alike. So it's most likely our musical background would be the same. Not just kidding. I want to know your musical side. Your musical side to what got you into playing the tungali, the paldong, and these instruments.
I don't know. Maybe I got overexposed because since I was in the womb of my mother, maybe yeah. Every time I always hear the music of the indigenous music of the Cordilleras. So I might say that I was forced into it, but eventually.
Yeah.
I mean, I love it because one is only a few people knows how to play indigenous music.
True.
Yes.
True.
There's that. It sounds really good.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
sounds really good, and it quite connects to the soul and to my ancestors. That's why I really love playing indigenous
Yes.
instruments. But I also learned how to play guitar, how to
Yeah.
play, the African drums.
The
Because
djembe.
it's all the djembe, because
Djembe.
essentially it's also indigenous, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Anyway, yeah. So
interesting.
since I was a kid, I was exposed. I was and I loved it. And I thank my mama and papa for exposing me to
And your
this
uncles.
and my uncles. all of them are musicians,
Musicians.
which
That's
yeah,
cool.
they incorporate indigenous music, indigenous instruments to their music. That's why I was also inspired by them. So
Interesting.
yeah.
Interesting. This is fascinating. My story on this regard is much more opposite. I learned how
Mm,
to play music during my lost years. And okay, for those who I've already said this countless of times, folks, my lost years was the year 2008 till 2015. That the lost years was my creative period because I was in India, and I think in 2008 I dropped out of high school. Just to give you guys a nutshell of what exactly went
mm,
on. I dropped from high school, and then, of course, because of that failure, I decided to isolate myself from the world. And the only relationship that I had outside of my own self was, of course, arts, and then came music. So that was where I started learning music, of course, in the University of YouTube. If you guys know that university, it's a very beautiful university,
mm,
and
The
it's they do
best.
yeah. So I studied studied this, studied that. I studied all the musical stuff, and I became a second generation bass player. Coming to think of it, once I got into, I was fascinated with slap bass, and saying my dad was always shares the fascination of the fact that I just picked up the bass, and of course I just started the journey. There was no fear, no doubt, and it's just more of enjoyment for the music. But sadly, after graduation, moving forward from the transitioning forward from 2015 and 2020, I made an oath. 2020, or yeah, the year of the pandemic, I made an oath to myself that once I graduate, I want to do something else. I want to go somewhere else. And I think I went full circle with the whole art life, because the artistic life was there in me during the lost years, even when I was younger than the lost years. Like I said, it's the longest relationship that I've had, longer than I had with music. That's why I feel a little bit weaker now when it comes to playing music, and all the stuff that I learned, I still have it in mind. And mostly, I often wish that I could just pass it on to someone who is worth the effort. And I think I had a student who I taught for some time, and then uh, the teaching, and then the kid disappeared, and I hope the kid is okay. But yeah, that was my story. More on the artistic side of it, is more like my love for
oh,
art was much more than the love that I have for music. Although I listen to music as I speak with you, I'm also listening to the piece, the composition that of Robert Dimbleby. And I'm sure you guys know who Robert Dimbleby
Ooh,
is. He was my 50th guest
yeah.
on my
Awesome guy.
podcast, and he's an awesome, down to earth kind of person. And I'm proud to have that conversation, although it was the most hardest to edit. And I'm sure Jill and Hanjong knows the story on how what I had to do after I edited that episode. But yeah,
Yeah.
transitioning on from music, let's get into filmmaking. Now, I'm sure this is a brand new field. I had an interesting conversation with my previous guest, Kazim, about acting. And I want to share some insights on what I heard in his conversation about acting. It's like when you get into a character, he gave me this tip. It's like when you get into a character, you put your personality and everything you have in a box, and then you store that box inside of you.
Yeah.
And then once you, whatever character you need to be, you need to get into that character, act like that character, be that character. And that, thinking about it seems easy, talking about it itself sounds easy, but doing it is the hardest part of the thing. And I was going, wow, this is
Exactly.
something else. And that's why I think the best people who work together, now I understand, those that work together and become friends, who build a friendship, are those that have the ability to transition from being themselves and being thing because I want to share my experience that I never shared with you guys, and the thoughts of that small 15-minute scene, which I remember we we had an interesting thing take on. For me, acting. I think I mentioned this in in Kazim's episode. Uh, for me, acting is more like a natural thing for me because I have the ability to switch from one character to the other, and it's funny. I sound demented. I do not know if I sound demented from your end, but I do have that ability of switching into characters easily. One day, this is sometimes it's a challenge when I get put on the spot, but there will be some days that suddenly I will pick up on British accent, like a Brummy accent, or I'll have a Cockney accent, and then transition back into Rajiv.
Wow, that's
It's
quite a
very
talent.
weird. Yeah, and for me, the way I learn is just by watching. This is a funny. I don't know if you believe me or not in this take that when how I learned how to speak Tagalog was because in my early college years, I remember my first years, I had no friends in the first years. And then what I remember was I have my lunch. I take my lunch into the canteen, and you know UB's canteen is wide. They got the nursing, saying before the pandemic, they got the nursing. They got all these people everywhere. So I just join in one of those.
Kubo.
Yeah, not the Kubo, the other one, the more
Ah,
cleaner one. So the more cleaner one, yeah. So the cleaner Kubo, the one that's below, saying the one of the tall buildings.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I
there,
know that.
I sit down and then I sit down and I eavesdrop on their conversation and how they speak, how they articulate, and sometimes I also try to imitate what they say in my head. Of course, I imitate what they say, and that's how I can speak Tagalog fluently, but I cannot go deeper than the fluency of what I can. There's like a certain threshold that I cannot go beyond. But yeah, that that's how I pick up certain, and also I can pick up like I'm a cinephile. I love movies, so th- I love American Western movies. So I can switch into a sudden girl from California, you know, like, oh my god, this guy's not is so hot right now, and I can just go like that for just few minutes, and then on the other hand it'll be like, you know, be normal, and it's just um, it makes me somewhat a weird cookie in some way. Yeah,
Yeah, you can adapt into, you can shape shift into
yeah.
anything.
That's why when
You
you guys
sound like
told me
anything.
to act, it was like it was just a piece of cake. It's like I was just there. I didn't even need to. The script you just gave me a small script, and I think it was just like the roll of a tissue paper script kind of thing, and it was just memorize that and this thing, and then that's all. And then I was already in character. It was it was funny enough. I felt like I
Yeah,
came
it
in
was
and yeah.
automatic. It was automatic for you to be a demon, Rajiv.
Yeah, and it was interesting. It was an interesting experience. And now I want to ask, as usual, ladies first, what was the experience of what was the thought? I actually wanted to ask you this. What was the thought what was the thought in your mind going through that process of, this shot is better, that shot is better, and then of course Hanjong's side, this shot is better, and then of course in the editing you guys were also debating on which one should probably make the final cut, because of course definitely some certain viewpoints were much more better in certain areas. So I want to ask Jill, what was going through your mind when you were creating the story and producing the story and then finally releasing the story? That's three questions in
Yeah,
one.
that's a lot. This is like a beauty contest. It's pageant season pa naman. But anyway, yeah. So, when Montañosa Film Festival released the theme, which is crossing borders, and like a lot of people passed away because of the pandemic, I wanted to create something that would, you know, make them think about life I mean, how short life is, and that maybe their loved ones are in another dimension, waiting in line for what is to come and stuff like that. So I wanted to create something that was literally about the afterlife, because everything is about death, and it's just so tragic. So I wanted to make something light and creative that would tackle the afterlife. So naturally, in the afterlife, there's there are souls, there are angels, there are demons, and all those things. So I wanted to make it fun, and I wanted to make it light, and I also wanted to tackle many issues in the film subtly. All of the subtle issues that I wanted to tackle. I wanted to tackle when people are kicked out of their indigenous lands, they tend to move to places like Manila. And when us indigenous people, we get kicked out of our own lands, on our own lands where we thrive, and kicked in these places with buildings and pollution and everything. Of course, we don't thrive in those places, and naturally our health suffers, because we're people of the mountains, we're people connected to nature. So that was tackled in the film. The mother and the father got sick when they moved to the city, to Manila. When supposedly they're supposed to own they're supposed to live to stay in Ifugao, because that's where they are from. But because of because like a lot of ancestral domains are getting taken by these I can't say bad words, but these ancestral domains are getting taken from the indigenous people themselves. We lose by number. So that's something that I tackled, but very just I made it very subtle. But one of the things, there's so many things that this film was able to package into one whole shebang. I don't know, but it's just very important for me to show people that power ends when people are greedy for power. And when we're on earth, we think we're so powerful when we have all of the money, the power, when we have all that while on earth. But in the afterlife, you can't really do that in the afterlife anymore. It ends. All of your earthly BS ends in the afterlife, and you have to get what you deserve for all the things that you did on earth. So both of my characters are also anti-hero, because I just wanted to show people that there's this thing that Tablat calls formula films, pasok sa takilya films, films that have formulas. So I wanted to show them that walang bida. This film doesn't have a bida. This film has two anti-hero characters. They're both anti-hero. They're both sinful people, but but it worked, and there was no love theme. Actually, it was, you would see the brother's love for his sister. So there's no love triangle, there's no kabet and all that. But I just wanted to show people that there are stories that work, even if you don't use the formula stuff, because Tatay Kidlat is such a deep influence in terms of filmmaking, because he taught us, me and Hanjong, that there are things that are unnecessary. When they're unnecessary, you don't have to show violence. So in our film, you would see violence was showed in such an artistic way.
Interesting.
There were so many things, because we wanted, we had a time limit in our final release, but we wanted to show more, but we had to cut down a lot. We really had to cut down a lot, but there were a lot of things that we really wanted to show as we try to revolutionize filmmaking as much as we can, as little as we are. We're trying our very best to show everyone that when we show films for a reason. We show films because we wanna awaken consciousness. We show films because we want to make people more compassionate towards each other. We don't make purposeless films. That's what I I want to portray as a filmmaker. It's very hard actually because you only make money if you feed the massa, if you show the massa what they want to see. But I think the massa is very much ready to become more awake and to get their consciousness on a higher level. So that's what we're hoping to do and continue to do more of as filmmakers. Yan.
Wow. That was you answered all the three questions in it. Is the
Yeah.
very in-depth philosophical side.
Yeah. Do I win? Do I win Miss Philippines now? Charot.
Yeah. I don't know if Hanjong can handle a longer answer as well. Your
I'm just a man
thoughts.
of few words.
all right.
Yeah,
Then let's hear them words. Let's hear them words.
No, I give all praises to Jill because she's really talented. When we created this film, 10,000 Errors, it's really a beautiful content, and I really love what Jill has created, the storyline, because it requires a special skill. Not everyone easily gets to write a story, and because for me it's hard for me to do that.
True,
My only
true.
my only role for the film is to produce what her
Idea.
imaginations are.
Yeah.
Her idea. So I give all praises to Jill because she's really creative and talented, and I love her so much. And
Aww.
so for filmmaking, still have a lot of things to learn in filmmaking. During the shooting, we just had this digital
True.
video camera.
True.
What do you call this? Handicam pa yung ginagamit namin sa what we use in the 10,000 is just a handicam.
Basic
and
tools.
Yet we produced a wonderful film. That's because of the content. So that's why I realized that even though you have the best camera or you have the best gadgets, but your story is
shitty.
Shitty. Or is your film is done unpurposely, no purpose at all. It will be a waste of time of everybody. So content is very important. I give it to all praises to Jill because she really did good. And I'm still learning, and I hope to learn more about film.
I must say I'm proud of you guys. I'm proud of you guys for sharing this, because to me it blew my mind. From everything, from the experience of trying to put the lens in my eye for at least an hour.
Yeah. So for those who are tuning in, it took about, how many hours did it take for us to be able to put the red
1
contact
hour.
the red contact lenses into Rajiv's eyes? We were able to put just one, and then we decided let's just isa na lang, just one red eye for him because he's a demon and he needed 2 red eyeballs. But it was hard. That's when I realized that not everyone is able to wear contact lenses. Also
Lesson
the other
learned.
angels.
Rajiv, you're not a demon after all.
The eye didn't agree with me, but I remember when Jill said, "Are we planning to do merch?" I said, "Dibs on the red eye."
That's you, but
I'm proud
really
of you.
wanted to-
I'm proud of us for accomplishing this. This is something. Yeah, you were saying.
And thank you for really joining.
Thank you for being a part of it,
Yeah.
because nobody else could play that part that you did. All of the hysterical laughing, you really did so good, and we're so happy that we got to meet you and that you're a part of the film. Very crucial. You know, I couldn't think of anybody else who would have done what you were able to. And the way you morphed into a demon, a sweaty demon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was good. It was a good experience for me. First time experience, and I think I can add that in the resume of accolades that I've accomplished, like
Yeah.
music, arts.
Most
I don't mean to
definitely.
brag. I don't mean to show my awards here. There's no award show to be thing. Music, arts, acting, and blogging, vlogging, whatever the other stuff are, and then yeah, it's really it's really a huge honor. I'm hoping someday, if the Rajiv Show gets enough good financing, I hope the Rajiv Show will produce one of your projects as well. That was one of my thoughts.
Yes, please.
Yeah, that was one of my thoughts. Is
Thank
like,
you.
although yes, my name, the Rajiv Show, I just want to. I can actually just put it as the Rajiv Production or something. But let's figure that part out. I actually, the last time I wanted to say that to you guys when we were face to face, but you guys were rushing off somewhere, so I said, okay, let me just save that for a better day, you know, and
Yeah, let's talk about that sometime soon.
Yeah, wherever we go in life, we don't forget each other, you know.
That's true.
If ever we get rich, we don't forget each other.
Yeah, yeah.
Those who were there, you know, those who were there for us during our day ones. Those are the people that we work with.
And
Thanks, man, in advance. I'm
Yeah.
claiming that. I'm claiming that the Rajiv Show gets a lot of good financing, so we can help each other out.
yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, there's so much more to add into this conversation, and I know my guest has a time schedule, I presume. So to wrap this conversation, of course, my listeners would love to connect with you guys via social media. How do they find you on social media?
Us. First of all, I'd like to promote 23 Sampaguita Creative Space here, because we founded that creative space in which we shot 10,000 errors, and Rajiv was able to grace us in that place when it wasn't 23 Sampaguita Creative Space yet. So you can search for that on Facebook, 23 Sampaguita Creative Space, and we also have a website, 23sampaguita.com. For me personally, you can follow me on Instagram, because it's the whole photo album of what happened to me in the last 7 years. I don't know. It's like so many photos. But it's at Juliana Maria. So I'm not gonna let you guys follow me on Facebook because it's crazy. My Facebook looks whack. But on Instagram at Juliana Maria. Hanjong.
Yeah. Just follow Juliana Maria and you can see my account there. So yeah. Well, whoever who is listening to this podcast, thank you so much for listening.
Thank you for tuning in, and please continue listening to
Yeah,
Rajiv.
continue
He's got
listening to
such
Rajiv.
good content, and he's such a wise and kind dude.
I want to say
Yeah,
thank you.
So
I want to say thank you so much for having this conversation. I know third time is the charm. Finally, I've managed to get
Yeah.
you guys here, and hopefully, I would love to have you back into the conversation. Like I said, if we have a chance, let's get a round table and let's get everybody. Let's get Benazir. Let's get Mr. Boyfriend. I call him Mr. Boyfriend, Benazir's boyfriend, because I can't catch his name. So let's get
Yeah.
everybody. Let's get everybody and have a nice round table conversation, hopefully, and make a season out of it and make it inspirational, because
Yeah.
you guys gave the inspiration, your heart and soul in this conversation, and I love it. And I'm gonna enjoy editing it. The editing, my editor is gonna have a good time editing this. Deep down inside, he's gonna call me I'm a bastard. But yeah, uh, that's that's what you do with your editor. You always mess around. So I want to thank my guest again for being a part of the Rajiv
Thank you
show.
so much, Rajiv.
Thank you so much for having us. It's
Salamat
so
ng marami.
amazing. You know, you're always a good. It's always a good conversation with Rajiv, and I'm glad that you actually did a podcast because that's what you are meant to do. I think in this life to make a podcast. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
And cheers, folks. For those who are listening, I will see you in the next episode.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank you.
you.